whatever it was, that show he did.
The Apprentice.
Yeah, that's it. And he became a president based on a lot of lies. So I don't think that it's just that they're going down to talk to him like they talk to the Taliban. I don't think so.
But these are people who are honestly resistance heroes, and they do one thing and their entire audience is outrage. I think it's, I just have a hard time with that. These are people who have never held their criticisms of Donald Trump in any single way.
No, I like Joe and Mika a lot. They're very nice people. But he was a Republican who encouraged Trump before he turned on him.
MSNBC doesn't have any viewers anymore. They're probably going to be spun off. They're on the chopping block. Their demo gets fewer viewers than local public access.
What kind of drugs is Alyssa on, calling Mika and Joe Scarborough from The Morning Joe on MSNBC resistance heroes? Absolutely ludicrous. The clown show that is the leftist media keeps on getting funnier by the day. They keep on melting down. They keep on losing viewership. And now they were forced to apologize live on air. The ladies of The View are up in arms about it. Joe Scarborough and Mika's fans are turning on them. It's beautiful. I'm going to show you the clip that they had to apologize for, then the ladies of The View, and then the malarkey that was Morning Joe having to justify their apology. Insane. Let's get it.
Well, just given what one sees on camera, if you're too drunk for Fox News, you're very, very drunk indeed. So that's alarming. In 1989, President George H.W. Bush nominated John Tower, senator from Texas, for Secretary of Defense. Now, Tower was a very considerable person, a real defense intellectual, someone who deeply understood defense, unlike the current nominee. And it emerged that Tower had a drinking problem. And when he was drinking too much, he would make himself a nuisance or worse to the women around him. And for that reason, his nomination collapsed in 1989. You don't want to think that our moral standards have declined so much that you could say, let's take all the drinking, all the sex pesting, subtract any knowledge of defense, subtract any leadership, and there's your next Secretary of Defense for the 21st century.
Before we go to break, a little bit earlier in this block, there was a comment made about Fox News in our coverage about Pete Hegseth and the growing number of allegations about his behavior over the years and possible addiction to alcohol or issues with alcohol. The comment was a little too flippant for this moment that we're in. We just want to make that comment as well. We want to make that clear. We have differences in coverage with Fox News, and that's a good debate that we should have often. But right now, I just want to say there's a lot of good people that work at Fox News who care about Pete Hegseth, and we'll want to leave it at that.
But I think the problem that people are having with it is that there's a certain feeling that they're normalizing him, and he's not normal. He's not. He's a very unusual case. He's a TV talk show host, whatever it was, that show he did.
The Apprentice.
Yeah, that's it. And he became a president based on a lot of lies. So I don't think that it's just that they're going down to talk to him like they talk to the Taliban. I don't think so. And by the way, I have a personal thing about this, because when George W. Bush was in the White House, I knew that if I had a beer with the guy, I would like him. I knew it. And so I didn't want to have a beer with him. Because I had things if I had sat down with the guy, I would feel maybe I can't anymore. You see, that's my problem with Morning Joe.
These are people who are honestly resistance heroes, and they do one thing and their entire audience is outrage. I think it's, I just have a hard time with that. These are people who have never held their criticisms of Donald Trump in any single way.
No, I like Joe and Mika a lot. They're very nice people. But he was a Republican who encouraged Trump before he turned on him. Now he's turning back again. It's very suspicious.
But why do you say he's turning back again? Joe Scarborough was on Morning Joe as a critic of Trump. Also, the timing was interesting. He went right down there right after the election. Because he's the story. He's going to be the American president.
It's funny that the left got so triggered. Now, I am not a fan of the Morning Joe. I think they're grifters. I think they're clowns. For what you're about to see, I definitely don't think they had to apologize for it, but they're scared. They're scared of Trump and that administration. Now, these people are not journalists, but I do agree that on both sides of the media, we have to come back to a sense of journalism at some point. Because mainstream media is like 90% state leftoid media. Gone are the days of proper journalism. Now it's all based on what party you're aligned with and clicks and views. As humans, it's like cheering for sports. If you're going to be a sports announcer, at some point you're going to be a little bit biased. You're going to have a team. You can have your point of view, you can have your opinion, but you still have to have some integrity and have some journalistic integrity and document stuff properly, not like these morons. Now let me show you. So after they apologized, here's what happened. They ended up with a bunch of backlash from the left, and then they were forced to give this nonsense of a statement. Let's go.
Wonderful conversation with David Frum. He was supposed to be on today. He said he was going to be on today. We are actually going to tweet back and forth, talking about having him back on today, just to talk through this, to say, again, I don't know, maybe it was the right call. Maybe it wasn't the right call. I didn't know exactly how to do it after he said, if you're too drunk for Fox News, you're very, very drunk indeed. Now, let me tell you, that's something they certainly would never let in the pages of The Atlantic, or in the Washington Post.
But this is all about the media.
Or in the New York Times. They never do that. So I actually asked an editor over The Atlantic when he was so shocked what we did. I said, would you allow me in writing a column at The Atlantic to say, if you're too drunk for the New York Times, you're very, very drunk indeed. If you're too drunk for the New York Post, you're very, very drunk indeed.
In the context of talking about somebody's alcoholism.
Talking about somebody's alcoholism and people from this news organization that were actually stepping up to help the cause. To get a guy who's grossly unqualified to be sack death. Is that the time to say that? Now, I understand, David, we talked. And David Frum said, it was just a joke. And I said to him, I said, well, you know, David, I appreciate that. And who knows, maybe I made the right call. Maybe I made the wrong call. I'm really sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. We tried to give it enough distance. Didn't say his name. We waited for the entire segment. We thanked him, went on. And then Mika just generally talked about a flippant comment. And I am telling you, the sound of fear, the apology, none of that is true. But guess what? This is what's been going on now for several weeks. This is what's been going on now for several weeks. You know, we went down to talk to the president-elect. And people wrote articles that were just false. But you know what we did? We did the corporate thing. Corporate said, don't say anything. Just keep your head down. What did the Royals say? Never explain, never complain, whatever. We did that. We enjoyed our Thanksgiving. We're like, you know what? People are upset with some of our guests, some of our friends. Maybe we snuck up on them too fast. Maybe we should have given them more of a warning. Whatever, it's fine. But guess what? The main complaint was that we called Donald Trump's rhetoric fascist during the campaign. And then we went down to have an off-the-record comment with him. Guess who else does that?
Let me see. From the New York Times,
the New York
Washington
Times,
Post, the Wall Street. You know what? I even think folks from the Atlantic.
I think actually,
I think they might
probably
be doing that.
If they have a chance to talk on the background with the incoming president and president-elect, they would do it. In fact, as somebody wrote during this outrageously stupid, immature series of articles that lied time and time again about us, reporter said, well, I'd be fired if I had the opportunity to go in and talk to somebody who's the incoming president of the United States. And I didn't do it. Ask any journalist at the New York Times, the New York Post. And that's the funny thing. People at the Washington Post especially, hair on fire, media report. How dare they? How dare they? At the same time that the Washington Post is doing the same thing, trying to speak to the president on background, trying to speak to people around the president. That's what reporters do. And by the way, guess what? That's what I've been doing for years. When I go speak to Middle East leaders on background, some who are not good people, guess what? I do it to get information and background to give it to you. I bet you didn't know, because I didn't tell you, because it was a background conversation. When I went to Elysee Palace last summer, we're going to do. So maybe, just maybe, everybody can catch their breath, stop freaking out about a loss of like 1 percentage point, and stop having this circling firing squad that we see the Democratic Party in, and this this media sphere
Yeah,
where
it's
people are
media
just
sphere.
trying to get clicks.
Well, and that to that point, two minor points, and that is, again, the meeting that we went to was not kissing the ring or bending the knee or all your other ridiculous headlines. It was a serious meeting, and quite frankly, if we hadn't told anyone about it, if we hadn't shared it with our viewers to be transparent, and that was our call because it was a meeting on background, nobody would have known about it. Nobody would have. We weren't flouncing in there and doing a big show of it. This was a private meeting on background.
Well,
one more thing.
Yeah.
To those that you were talking about here who are still kind of pushing this narrative and saying this article is so sad and, oh my God, fear has taken over. Good job. Good job. Because you're so stuck in your hatred. You're so stuck in your hatred mode that you can't see that you are doing exactly what negative forces at play here want, which is causing us to fight. We should not be fighting for doing our jobs, for doing what the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the Atlantic, they are doing right now. Yeah. And if they are not meeting with the president-elect and talking to him, then they are not doing their jobs.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Bleeding views. Nobody believes them anymore. And we're going to end here with a small clip from Megyn Kelly's show where she had Michael Knowles on there, and they talked about this exact thing. Let's go.
I want to leave it at that.
What? Right? So she comes out, said, like, I'm so sorry, what's happening? Then Frum comes out and says, we know what's happening here is they're afraid. They're afraid of Trump, and this is very dangerous that they're already bending the knee to Donald Trump because freedom requires us to express our opinions, blah, 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 blah. What's happening here? Like, why is Mika Brzezinski trying to be nice to Fox News? And why are they now trying to act offended about a joke about a Trump nominee?
I think there are three layers of varying degrees of seriousness. One, if David Frum was making some kind of accusation, I think they want to protect themselves from any claims of defamation. Two, Mika and Joe spent a lot of money on those airplane tickets to go grovel at Trump's feet at Mar-a-Lago. That was only a couple weeks ago. So, I don't even think the polish is off the shoes yet, and they don't want to have wasted that trip. And then three, MSNBC doesn't have any viewers anymore. They're probably going to be spun off. They're on the chopping block. Their demo gets fewer viewers than local public access. The main demo, 18 to 54. So, they realize they're in trouble. And I think in part, they're sucking up to Trump and Fox News, really just to appeal to viewers beyond even some of the other considerations.
Those old things that they used to have called viewers.
Guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you're enjoying the meltdowns of the leftist media as much as I am. And if you did, please smash that thumbs up button for your boy. Really goes a long way into helping me out. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, and this is not your first time here, hopefully this will be the video in which I can earn your subscription. Catch you in the next video. Peace out, everybody.